Hello YouTube, it's Mad Kelp, and today we are engaged in the awesome activity. There we go. Of snowblower repair. Had the speed selector switch on my snowblower broke the last snowstorm. And it decides it's only going to run on fast, which is kind of like, where is that hole? Which is kind of like chasing a Mustang, the horse, not the car, and being dragged behind it. So it was about zero fun. So what happened was the speed selector, there we go, this little angle bracket that goes from the speed selector up to the actual switch broke in half. So I had a little redneck fix that I used for the last snowstorm, or the last 5 or 6 inches, which in the Poconos we don't really consider a snowstorm to some. So I ordered a part. Part came in today. So today we're fixing. So here in the land of everything breaks all the time, we gotta learn how to fix stuff. So I had a question for you. Do you know how to fix stuff? You got tools? You know, take stuff apart and put it back together. As preparedness-minded individuals, families, it's a skill we should have. It's one of those things where knowing how to fix stuff saves us a huge amount of money, and we get to be more valuable. So, because stuff in the land of, oh crap, that broke, breaks all the time. So I'm constantly fixing stuff. Now, I did a video a little while ago about my water being out. I didn't have any experience with wells. So I called a brother of mine who does have some experience with wells. And he was good enough to come up and help me out. And so that night I changed the pressure sensor switch on my vacuum tank, and I changed the gauge because the gauge was old and it wasn't working. And that didn't fix the problem. So we had to pull the well pump. I had never pulled a well pump. So he brought up his tools and he showed me how to pull a well pump. And we replaced the well pump and put it back in, and that didn't work. So the next thing to do was to dig up the yard, dig up the line, and replace the line from the well to the house. And luckily, he's got an excavator, so he was able to do that. We replaced it, put it back in, and we had no water. Pump would turn on, but there was no water. So we thought about it, and everybody said, well, it's probably that your well is dry. And I'm like, well, you know, I don't think so, because we pulled that out and there was a good 30, 40 foot of that hose that was sopping wet. So we pulled that out again, and apparently there's enough silt and dirt in the bottom of the well that the pump was sitting right in the muck and was not pumping water. We cut 1.5 foot off the top of the well pipe, put everything back together, and sure enough, we got water. Now again, that's nothing I had done before, but because I have awesome brothers, I now know how to do that. A couple years ago, my septic pump went out. I know how to fix that. 10 minutes later, a brother of mine called me and said, hey, how you doing? I said, my septic pump went out. And he said, well, I know how to do that. I'll be there. Half an hour later, he was here, he showed me how to do that. I know how to change a septic pump. So we learn stuff, and we now have skills. You know, every time something breaks in this house, rather than call somebody and say, "Hey, come fix this," I try to find somebody that I know that has a little bit of experience with that, and I would rather pay them than pay a plumber or electrician. But my main focus when they come is how do I fix this next time? The reason I do this kind of stuff is because I'm not afraid to take stuff apart. And I learned working on my own cars back in the before time, back in the 70s when we had carburetors and stuff, how to take engines apart and how to put them back together. So I know a little bit about how to do that. All of the stuff that I learned how to do in my house, all the electrical and all the plumbing and sheetrock and mudding and taping and all that, is stuff that I put my hands on because A, I'm too cheap to pay anybody else to do it, and B, I want to know how to do that stuff. So my neighbor over here, very nice guy, very, very cool guy, and he's helped me out with a project from time to time, but he calls the guy. Something breaks in his house, he calls the guy. You know who he doesn't call? He doesn't call me. He calls the guy that he's got to pay. And every time he tells me, this broke, and I had to call the guy, and he had to come and fix it, I'm like, why don't you call me first? I could have helped you with that. We could have fixed that together. It wouldn't have cost you money, and you'd have the experience of how to do that the next time. But I don't know. I don't fathom people like that. It doesn't make any sense to me. I would much rather fix it myself, and I would much rather have that experience. So, can you fix your snowblower? Can you fix stuff around the house? If your plumbing breaks, can you fix that? Can you put brakes on your car? Do you know how to change your oil? If something in your car breaks, can you fix it yourself? Can you put the new part on? Do you know which part to order? If you don't, do you know a guy who can help you do that rather than taking it to the mechanic? I don't know. Just my little rant today. Just out here fixing stuff, and figured I'd yak at you for a minute. Buddy of mine, YouTube fame, Jay Johns of the Beef Bacon Bake, was one of the guys who came up to my house last week. My well had stopped again. I'm figuring it can't be a part because we replaced everything from the well pump into the house. So it can't be a part. So he and a couple of brothers came up and looked at it, and one of my brothers, whose channel I have recommended before, Danny from Garden of Eden Farms, pulled the cap off the well and started, taking a look at the wires, and sure enough, one of the connection was frayed, and 10 minutes later, bing bang boom, he had that sucker running. Now I know what to do. Electrical's not my thing, but now I know how to fix that. But anyway, I don't know where I was going with that story, but anyway, do you know how to fix stuff? So fix stuff. Figure stuff out. I tell my son, when something breaks, don't be afraid to take it apart. It's already broke. You might as well take it apart and see if you can fix it. And if you can't fix it, then you can take it to a guy or call it to a guy. But, go break stuff. Go fix stuff. Figure out tools. Go buy some tools. And I'm probably preaching to the choir. Probably 99% of you guys already fix all your own stuff. But for the couple of people who don't, figure it out. Because if things go the way that we always prophesy that they're going to go, there's going to be nobody to call. So, the J. John story. So we were working on the well pump, and he's looking down the back of my property at the creek, and he says, in an emergency, you could set up a ramp pump. And I said, do you say what now? And he said, yeah, it's a ramp pump. It's based on, water flow into a system, and it runs, without electricity, and it'll pump actually water uphill to your house. So I've spent the last couple of days researching ramp pumps and how to build a ramp pump. You know what the Mad Kelt's going to do? Matt Kelt's got to build himself a ramp pump. Because in case we lose electricity again or something happens to the well, flowing water's awesome. Anyway, that's my rant for the day. Hope you guys are all doing well. I'll talk to you soon. Let me get back to fixing this thing before the next snowstorm in the Poconos. So, go do something. Get a tool. Fix something. Shalom.